Hello. First of all, I would like to thank SFG for organizing this session and all three candidates here to make it on to this debate here. My question is definitely a Tibetan issue. I truly appreciate, on behalf of all Tibetans, truly appreciate the conservative government's step to bring in 1,000 Tibetans from Arunachal Pradesh, India. Again, understanding the fact that political situations in Nepal is also very fragile. The human rights situation, the deteriorating in Nepal, with the fact that Maoist government did take place and still have a significant role in Nepal politics. Also that recently UN has revealed one statistics that Nepal is a country with the highest rate of disappearance in the world, human disappearance in the world. So looking at all this scenario, my question to you candidates is like, if elected, can candidates here pledge for the support to bring in Tibetan families in Nepal to Canada and put this resolution in a parliament here? And if so, if you're willing to do so, by when can we hear some kind of that coming in the media? And I would appreciate, for the benefit of all the elder Tibetans here, if my mediator friends can translate this to Tibetan. Thank you.
Puganalia Eurosund, Tibet Dirishatanda, Puyunalia, Ani, the Chelsea Zarakangi Mamustedi Gores, Ditoneta, and the Jiji Dinalia, Nieja, Zamuli Nane, and me to Sladong, Lumbati, that Manshula and Lumbati, Nevalres, Chetus, Conzugilia, and Seraj Tusna, Senadim, Nepal Nalia, and Pebe, Nedandi, Polia, Kangema was cheated, or Chetandim, Zamalia, and Nieja, Kenda Shune, and Arunachal Pradesh, Pepachik Tonjitus, to Gendalia, Nek, Indeki, Tavju, and Dina Shigi, and Nebane, Nang Tolia, and Kinzungan, Trazonalia, Karchetures, and the Chigina, and the Tiso conditionalia, Chezerni, never turned to Chigures.
Mr. Train, did you want to go first?
Thank you for your question. I really don't care if Tibetans are in Nepal or if they're wherever. I care for Tibetans. And if we have a situation in Nepal, Bhutan, wherever, one thing that I will promise you, I cannot make a pledge. I'm not a politician. I do not make promises I cannot keep. But I will try very, very hard to ensure that those issues are brought forward in government, that it will not just be the Tibetans in one place that we will look to, but Tibetans everywhere that we will look to. And it will be you who will tell me. You will tell me what you want to do. I am not going to tell you what I am going to do. You will tell me what you want me to do, and you will tell me what I should pay attention to, because as I said before, I look, I see, and I do. Thank you.
Ms. Nash?
Thank you for your question, and my colleague Sherry DeNovo is here, and she was just an election observer in Nepal for the Tibetan elections, and I know she describes some very dire circumstances in Nepal. When His Holiness was here, not this most recent visit, but the visit before, I had the wonderful opportunity to meet with him on 2 or 3 occasions, and he urged us then to be advocating for more Tibetan refugees to come to Canada, and certainly we took that up. I wrote then to the Minister of Immigration urging the government to bring more Tibetan refugees, and now he has announced most recently 1,000. But part of the problem too is reuniting families. Maybe there are 1 or 2 members here, you want to bring more family members, and there is a terrible delay, a terrible backlog in reuniting families in Canada. And I want to urge this government, the current government or the next government, hopefully it is a different government, and we can speed up the family reunification. When I was a member of Parliament, I had a bill called the Once in a Lifetime Bill that would add to the number of family members, the class of family members that you could bring to Canada. Sadly, the two parties represented here did not support that bill, but I believe strongly the best immigration is family reunification, where people can settle in the country, they have family members, they have a community here, they have a better success rate. So that is something I support, and I would certainly commit to work for the Tibetan community to see a greater number of people, a number of Tibetans coming from Nepal and from other countries to Canada.
I want to go directly to the heart of the question, which was about conditions in Nepal. And I think the question was about what I think it seemed to imply, what happens if things get worse? And so I think we want to be very alive to that. There is a commitment from this government that I hope will be followed through on. It's a general commitment. It's not specific to Tibetans in terms of coming forward, but I think the government is sincere, I believe, in wanting to make some of that allocation of new refugees to Tibetans. I've been working with the Tibetan Canadian leadership. They know I have a private members bill developed, modeled on some previous bills in the past that have been passed, specifically allocating and making for 2,000 refugees to come over. Now, I think the best route is a compliant government. That is the best way to make that happen. I don't know enough about what we would have to do in the circumstances of conditions even worsening in Nepal, but I assume it's something we'd also have to bring other countries in the United Nations involved in. And I would obviously want to sit down and understand better how we could be effective in Canada, both taking our full share, but also how we could mobilize others in the face of those conditions and the uncertainty that is there for Tibetans. I also would like to touch on, just very briefly, the immigration conditions. Family reunification needs to be fixed. What we found as the House was ending is that there's kind of quotas out there on different offices is how many family members can come over. And everybody in this room knows there are special problems with documentation for Tibetan families, and we need to work together in Parliament. I've proposed this in the past to the Friends of Tibet, parliamentary friends. We need to get these rules understood and fixed, because it's meaning that husbands and wives are separated for 7 and 8 years. It makes no sense at all. So that's another form of action that we can be taking. I will promise to do that. If the government in some way isn't able, or if our government isn't able to come bring something forward, I would work very hard to bring it forward in a Liberal government, and also would bring forward a private members bill notwithstanding, to make sure that the reunification happens. And these other rules, we're working on documenting them now because we want to get them fixed. They can be fixed regardless of the outcome of the election. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kirap, and actually I'm from Tibet, and the people are locked up today from Nawa, including some of my relatives too. And I know what Tiginash had done, she did when she was in MP. I really appreciate it. I thought she took every opportunity to raise the Tibet issue. But I want to ask Mr. Kennedy, I'd like to know specific, what have you done to support political issue in Tibet, in the parliament or anywhere? Could you talk more detailed, please?
Thank you. I have, on a variety of occasions, at least 5 or 6 times in the House, talked about the issues of Tibet. I have raised questions. I have raised statements, particularly about Donda Pwangan, the filmmaker, also most recently about the environmentalist who was imprisoned. And I understand that we all know what this does. When you raise it in one parliament, it goes all around the world, and that creates some kind of pressure. People know that we're talking about these cases in democratic countries. I've also gotten up and asked questions about support for human rights. I did that before the Olympics. I said to this government, I said, don't pick and choose the times. Is Mr. Harper going to raise human rights in Tibet before the Olympics as part of his participation in it, as part of his discussions with the Chinese government. I have spoken on the steps of Parliament Hill. I have brought in other members of Parliament who were not as knowledgeable. Some of them have been knowledgeable for longer, and others who are just learning through the activism that we've done to make sure that more and more people know about the situation of Tibet. Tibetans are concentrated in this riding and a few others, but it's important that all Canadians are part of that. I've also started discussions, and through this campaign we've engaged people that are Tibetan Canadians, because my advice at the Lozar celebration is, it's time now. It's time for Tibetan Canadians to lead here in Canada as well, and to become fully involved in the political process. And so I've been working with individuals, and now with small groups, and hopefully with larger groups, in whatever capacity I can. And I encourage you in whatever party to be seen as Tibetan Canadians, but to be seen as Canadians as well, because you have full rights to participate, to lead, to direct, and eventually to run for positions. And so that's part of how I'm advancing that. I will say this one caveat. In Canada, we can only support positions that are possible for the Canadian government to take. There is a legitimate existence of a government in exile, and that is the business of Tibetans in exile, the diaspora. It's honorably existed before for places like Poland and others seeking freedom. But it is not, that is the business of people who are connected with that. The Canadian government needs to work on a government-to-government relationship, and that's what you should look for us to have China. I've met privately with, well, I was accosted, you would say, the Chinese ambassador and the Chinese embassy asked to meet with me as soon as I started speaking publicly. And I can share with you, they said, why do you bother with Tibetans? There's so few of them. You know, we have more Chinese in your riding than there are Tibetans. It's the wrong thing to say to Canadians, because Canadians like the underdog. Canadians respect the values of Tibetans. So I think it's really important to know that there are very much people on your side, and I count myself as one of those.